What's going on, happy hippie? Got a story for you guys. Let me put this on. Let me wait till you guys get in here and introduce my guest. I got a very, very famous guest. A very special guest. We're outside a very special house also. Wait till a couple people get in here. You know, if you go live, you can only go live twice in a 24-hour period, and then they'll stop giving out your notifications. And then sometimes did the notification come out? My notification. There we go. Hit that like button, guys. Hit that like button so more people come in. What's going on? Ask what's going on, News Nebraska. What's going on? Be happy. None of your Texas on your back. 20. Sup, fellas? This is a big one. Hit that like button, guys. Hit that like button. What's going on? Number 108 Dragon. What's up? Great Sky Troll. Anti-drama. Miss E. Miss. Hey there. FTP Cop Blocker. Okay, so what this one is about. If you guys ever saw the movie Casino, Joe Pesci played Nicky Santoro. That was based on the life of Tony Spilotro. Tony Spilotro's best friend was a man by the name of Frank Cullotta. There's a YouTube channel called Coffee with Colotta. As a matter of fact, I gotta find here. I had to get let go of all my auditors. I mean, my moderators. Make me my guy here, Great Sky Troll moderator. Coffee with Colotta, right there. That's Coffee with Colotta. Guys, go to that channel and subscribe. My man Richard Bonner, make him a moderator because I had to get rid of all my moderators and I put them back up there. So that Coffee with Colotta was this mobster was portrayed in the movie Goodfellas. He was part of the Hole in the Wall gang, which out in Vegas. He's originally from my neighborhood. Then they went out to Vegas when Chicago took over Vegas and started building the hotels. And his thing was he would put holes in walls and rob jewelry stores. He was a tremendous thief. He was just a gangster. And this is Adam. Adam is the producer of Coffee with Colotta. He's also a magician. He moved out to Las Vegas when, how old were you, Adam?
27.
27. He's he does magic for Miley Cyrus, Paris Hilton. And when I say the magic for them, they ask for him personally, and he goes to their parties and does their personal magician, if you can have a personal magician. And you guys also had a mob tour out in Vegas, right?
Correct.
So how I met him was I started watching the videos, and because Frank's from my neighborhood, the way he's talking and stuff, and like I recognize that talk, I recognize those jokes, and I really connected. And I just started talking with Adam, and Adam and me and Adam got close. Isn't that correct?
Yeah.
Now Frank passed away. When did he pass away?
August 20th.
So he came here to bring his ashes home, and they had a big party, celebration, right? Dinner, and he's been going all around and getting content. Right, we're outside right now. We're outside Tony Accardo's house. I'll show you guys Tony Accardo. Tony Accardo was the boss of the Chicago Mafia. Probably one of the most, the strongest bosses ever. You probably don't know that much about him. You know some stuff about John Gotti, but the reason you know about John Gotti because he was a terrible boss. You know, the guys you don't really hear about are the guys. That's Tony Accardo's house right there. 27 rooms, 2,200 feet. So there's Tony Accardo's house. I'm backing up everywhere. What's up, El Coro? So we've been going to different mob things, and I'm going to tell you about, and we're going to talk about with Adam in a minute. But Adam is the producer behind Coffee with Colotta. So when you see Coffee with Colotta, he's the guy that produces it. He's the guy that took it off the ground. And what would you say? What were the numbers like in the beginning? When I first started talking to you, what would you say because you shot up, your numbers went crazy.
It went crazy after you and I started talking, because when we started producing Coffee with Colotta and Frank and I were shooting it, you know, we were plugging it on Facebook, and we were getting, you know, we might have had in the first 3 months 800, maybe 800, 700, and that's when you started talking and said to me, dude, you should have 80,000. You should,
Yeah.
you know, what's going on? It's Frank Cullotta. You should have a hell of a lot more. And that's when he started giving me tips on different software and things to use.
Yeah, but I mean, those are just tips. I mean, the content is, you got to understand, when you're making videos, so this is one camera, or maybe two cameras, and one guy sitting there telling stories. That's a very hard thing to pull off to get 50, 60, 70,000 subscribers. But he is such a great storyteller, and Adam's such a great editor, because he's been doing it since he was 18, and he's a magician. He's an artist by trade. So that channel took off. Where's it at now? I mean, it went to like 10,000, 15,000. And
we're at 22,000.
22,000, and we're talking about in the matter of a couple of months. I mean, the stories on there are unbelievable. He was the real deal, and he was from my neighborhood. And in fact, I had to go pick him up because you gave his urn to his, we say you gave it to?
Yeah.
It's all, so he gave his urn to his brother, Joey. And you guys know that I'm from Italian neighborhood. I don't talk that much about my life, but I'm from a place called Little Italy, not Taylor Street, another place that was kind of the junior Little Italy after everybody moved off Taylor Street. And I knew Colotta's family, right? My family knew Colotta's family. So when I got out of the car, I said, you know, I'm sorry for your loss, Joey. This is who I am. He goes, oh, yeah, I know, da. So we're intertwined. And so what now? Now that Frank's passed, and a lot of it, your channel was on Frank, what do you think about doing now? Because I'm telling you about your life. He is he's the greatest person in the world with the floating cigarette trick.
Okay, so he keeps telling me you got to make videos and tell the people who you are and about yourself and about moving to Vegas and performing for people like Aaron Paul, Ozzy Osbourne, Marilyn Manson, Paris Hilton, Miley Cyrus, Britney Spears, you know, all of these celebrity performances, and tell them all about your life. And I'm thinking about just changing the channel to just interviews with people from organized crime, and of course making some videos about other, you know, places that have mob activity. That's what I'm in Chicago doing right now, is going around and to different mobsters' houses and, you know, locations where things took place.
Yeah, like I said, we're right in front of Tony Accardo's house. Tony Accardo was a big tuna, probably the most powerful mob boss in the history. Him, Al Capone, and in my opinion, Gambino were probably the three most powerful. I wouldn't even put Al Capone in there. Well, yeah, maybe. Anyway, so, and you were on America's Got Talent twice?
I was on America's Got Talent, yeah, the very first season, and then I think it was season 10 that I did it again.
Okay, so if you could tell us a favorite story that Frank told. My favorite story is, so we're sitting in front of the house right now of we're in front of Tony Accardo's house. Now, Tony Accardo had a pet monkey, and one of Frank's friends was the guy in charge of, his whole life revolved around taking care of this pet monkey, right?
Yes.
He had to take care of the boss's pet monkey. And Frank would come and talk to him, and the guy would come to the car and be like, if this wasn't Tony Accardo's monkey, I swear to God, I choked the shit out. He'd have been dead a long time ago. And the way he tells stories is fantastic. But what was your favorite? What would you say your favorite story?
So many. There were so many. So many stories that he told. I mean, I don't think I actually have a favorite.
Tell him about the one guy that was in his crew, because he was the head of the crew. The real tall guy, the big guy, the psychopath.
Larry Newman. I just heard another story about him today. I never heard.
Tell Larry Newman story. Tell him about Larry Newman. Describe Larry Newman. Tell him everything.
Larry Newman was a really big guy, tall guy. Frank met him in Statesville Penitentiary down in Joliet, and they were on the Goon Squad together. I think it was Statesville.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was, right? Yeah. Okay, it wasn't Terre Haute. So Statesville. Anyway, they worked on the Goon Squad, and they would go into the the mentally insane, the criminally, whatever, the ones that the prison guards didn't want to have to deal with, they went and dealt with them. And Frank said every week there would be this wicker basket where they were, and if they had the lid on it, that meant there was a body in it.
Yeah. And
Larry was like a serial killer. He's very, very smart. He wasn't like a serial killer. He probably was a serial killer. He classified. Yeah. He had an IQ of crazy high IQ, and didn't need to do any crime. His father left him a trust fund. He was getting plenty of money. He didn't need to do any of this, but he enjoyed killing. So, and he's
what was in that wicker basket? It was a dead body.
Bodies, yes.
So they were like they call them the goon squad. They would go to the mentally insane, the guys that smear feces on the wall.
Right.
And this guy would just go in there because he liked killing. He got off on it. Frank would go down in the morning. There'd be a wicker basket.
Mike D said the Iceman. He's talking about Richard Kukluski.
Yeah,
okay.
New York.
We asked Richard Kukluski and Larry Newman. If you threw them in a room together with a couple of chainsaws, Larry would come out on top.
Yeah. But Larry Newman, stone cold. In fact, what's his name say? What did Spilotro say? So Spilotro's he's the made guy. That's Frank's best friend. He said
to Frank, if you ever get mad at me, don't send the big guy after me, Larry Newman.
They call him Lurch. He's huge. He was 6'8", 6'6", no, 6'7", 6'6".
6. He was like 6'4".
And he was in Statesville for a murder. And when he was young, and his dad got him off. His dad paid a judge or something.
Yeah, he paid like 3. He had a team of 3 attorneys, got him off of 100 and something year sentence, reduced to 6 years or something.
Tell him the story about when Frank had him drive somebody back to Chicago.
So he went back to So
Frank's the head of the crew. Frank, does understand this. Frank's the head of this robbery crew, and Larry Newman's one of his crew members.
Okay, Larry was married, got divorced, but his ex-wife sitting there in Lake County, she goes into a bar, gets thrown out by the owners. Larry finds out about it, says, "I'm going back to kill the owners." So that's disrespecting my wife. Frank said, "It's not your wife anymore."
Yeah.
He talked to him for 2 weeks. He talked him down, talked him out of going back and killing him. He went back and killed him.
Because he had to drive somebody back to Chicago.
He drove somebody back to Chicago, correct? And he had him in the car with them when they showed up at the bar. And he went into the bar and he shot the owner, and there was a woman there and a waitress, so he could have killed her too.
And then he comes back to the car and then drives off. Doesn't even let the guy know. It's like if we stop at Walgreens, I run in and I murder 4 people, I get back in the car and we start driving, and you never even found out. Like, but didn't he say wasn't he trying to rob the place next door though too? Wasn't there a jewelry store next door or something?
No, I don't recall that.
Okay,
no, I don't recall that.
So not only were they a robbery crew they were also a hit crew, right? Mm-hmm. They did murders for the mob.
Yes, they did.
So Frank was in Casino. He was an actor. He was portrayed in Casino by Frank Vincent. That's the guy who was Billy Baths in Goodfellas, and the guy from Sopranos that took over the New York section. Right. Frank Vincent. If you know him if you see him. And then
he silver hair.
Yeah.
He just passed away not too long.
Yeah. Martin Scorsese did the movie, and then Frank actually did a lot of the hits. He was the hitman in the movie because he was the guy that really killed the people in real life.
Right.
So he's in with Tony Spilotro, and then what happens there? How does their relationship? Because the power is Tony Spilotro. Chicago sends Tony Spilotro to Vegas, and he's protecting the skim. And then he has Frank. He has Frank. Tony has. How does that work? Then how does
Frank gets told by Joe Lombardo, go out to Vegas, watch over the little guy. Okay, make sure that nothing, doesn't have any. So Frank arrives in Vegas, and Tony tells him put together a crew. He puts a crew together, which includes Larry Newman, Wayne Matecki, Ernie DeVino, Leo Gardino. Joe Blasco was a Metro officer who, when he left the police force and then wanted to be a robber full time, and a couple of other guys that were on the crew. And they started going around the town, robbing the town blind. Frank said, "Hey, I can have the crew out here. They can take care of things for you, but, they're not on a payroll. They got to earn. I got to earn." Tony says, "Start stealing, start robbing." He gave him the okay to do things that he shouldn't have been telling him to do. And I heard that from very reliable sources over this weekend, let's just say.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he was, and the guy's name, Wayne Matecki, all these guys got their specialty. One's a safe cracker. Didn't one of them, when he robbed houses, he would take the picture frame?
Leo Gardino, he was very religious. He would be praying while he was robbing. He would be turning the pictures face down because he didn't want to look at the people's faces that he was robbing. Yeah.
I mean, the murder and the mayhem is just insane. Oh, and so there's so when he says Joey Lombardo, that's Joey the Clown Lombardo. He got caught we should have went there where the FBI caught him, because at the time I believe he was number 3 most wanted, behind Osama bin Laden, Ayman al-Zawahiri was number 2 in Al Qaeda, and then was Joey the Clown Lombardo with Operation Family Secrets. They thought he was in Paraguay, they thought he was in Italy. He was on the other side of my town, right? And so Joey the Clown Lombardo is my neighbor, is Nooch Lombardo, his brother. Great guy. I never knew Joey. So Joey was the power and kind of the guy that sent him out there. And then how did you meet up with Frank? And then, wait, so what is the relationship? What happens with Spilatro? If they've seen the movie, it's not exactly how they didn't get killed in the cornfield. They got killed. The Spilatro got killed somewhere else.
Yeah, here.
But what happened with their relationship? So you said he was doing stuff that the bosses didn't say that he could do?
Yeah, he was giving okays to have, that shouldn't have been happening. He's telling them, to kill this person, to do that. He shouldn't have been doing any of that stuff, because you don't want to bring any heat to Vegas. They're running a skim. They got a skim. Why attract problems and attention when you're already making the money? You got the money coming, right? Yeah. So you don't want to bring any heat on it,
But these guys were just stone cold killers. They couldn't help themselves.
And they're, stealing. So they're out there stealing. And then they get in trouble, and they had to do bigger jobs and, to make more money to get themselves out of the trouble, to pay for the attorneys and this and that. And they got busted at the jewelry store robbery in Las Vegas.
And then when the bosses back in Chicago found out about all these murders, didn't Spilatro say, I can't control Colotta, he's doing all this? So he puts it all on Frank.
Right. He called up Joe Lombardo, and there's a wiretap where he's complaining to Joe. He's like, Joe, I can't handle this guy. This guy's going crazy. He's out here, he's doing all these things. I'm telling you, when in reality he was telling Frank to go do those things, and then threw him under the bus. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And Joey told him, you got to do your dirty laundry.
Clean your dirty laundry.
Yeah, exactly. And that meant get rid of Frank. And when Frank heard that wiretap and they played it to him, the FBI, that's when he decided to roll, become a government witness, and testify on himself and everybody else, the things that he was doing, including murder.
Yeah. And then so he goes into the witness protection program. But he lived so long that there's kind of this mob revival when Goodfellas and everything, and he has like a third act of his life, right? And especially when the YouTube channel blows up, he was ecstatic. Right?
So Frank went into witness protection.
What year was that?
Hit out in 1982 is when 1981 is when they were busted at the jewelry store. He rolled shortly thereafter and went into witness protection. He had to be pulled out to testify in Chicago, testify in Las Vegas, all of this. So he was testifying everywhere, and then back into hiding. And one day he decided, I guess you kind of remove yourself from witness protection, but he started living, and I tell all this now because he's gone, but San Diego, and he started a limousine company.
Wait, real quick, hold on. Remember that. VetTech Kimmy, can you put Coffee with Colotta's link up? Go ahead. You're a limousine company.
So the limousine company, he ran that for a while, and it was about that time that he released his first book called Colotta, his life story. And when he did that, I was just moving to Vegas to pursue magic, to do magic. And while I was doing that, I got a job as a tour guide, and my first tour job was the Vegas mob tour. So that's how I first initially met Frank, and I did that for a few years until he got me fired because he rode the tour one day and he didn't like the jokes I was making.
He has a famously rough temper. He has a famous Italian temper.
So I got fired. He demanded that I never do the tour again. And then 10 years went by, and he's the owner of the company, the producer of the tours, passed away. So I took over the tours, and that's how Frank and I got reunited. And we started making some videos, not for YouTube, but we were, doing interview videos. And beginning of the year, around December, my wife said, "Hey, what about Coffee with Colotta?" Wouldn't that be a good YouTube channel? So I thought about it. I ran it past Frank and said, look, it's very easy. All you have to do is sit here, tell the stories. We'll work on subjects. We'll let people ask questions. And that's what we'll do.
Yeah.
And of course, that's what we started doing. And it started taking off.
And that's how we first actually started talking, because the Zoe Product News was never just, I'm an auditor. I didn't even like being called the auditor. It's just news, everything. And because I grew up in this neighborhood around all these mobsters, I had access to mobsters, and I did a segment called Auditing the Mob. And Frank heard one of my videos, and it was, I told one of the guys on my show, Frank Cullotta, a good friend, he tells a story about a guy getting stabbed with a, Tony Spilatro's stabbing a guy with a pen at a car wash, and his dad drives by and sees he needs any help because his dad's also a made member of the Chicago outfit.
Right.
And Spilatro says no. Now, that was in the movie Casino. If you remember, Robert De Niro comes out of the bathroom and he says, oh, is this your pen, the guy? And the guy goes, good fuck out, you fucking jagoff, get out of here. And Tony Spilatro, Joe Pesci, takes the pen and starts stabbing the guy in the neck. Now, it said Frank Newman and Larry Newman stabbed somebody in Stateville with a pen.
Right, so Frank was the technical consultant #1 on the movie, okay?
Yeah.
He was the one who stood next to Martin Scorsese and Nicholas Pileggi and said, this is how this happened, this is how that. They didn't say jerk off in Chicago, they said jag off.
Yeah, we never
There's
said
all
jerk
of these things. And yes, they asked him, they said, tell us some heinous things that you've seen, you know, in your life. Ways people were killed.
New different ways people were killed.
Larry Newman, while he was on the Goon Squad, he took a pen and he jammed it into this guy's neck. He kept jamming it. It didn't kill the guy, but it screwed him up pretty badly. And he told Marty that, and Marty said, that sounds like a good, so they shot that. And that was shot at Idle Spurs in Sandy Valley.
Yeah, so
that bar.
I don't tell the story on my channel. I'm just interviewing the guy that tells the story. So now, Coffee with Colotta is blowing up. He comes on, and I'm watching the show, and all of a sudden I hear, this YouTuber thinks he's living somebody else's life. And I'm like, he's talking about me. So I'm from the same neighborhood he's from, so I call up Adam. I'm like, because I was going to have him on the show. And then I'm like, but we have him on the show. I'm going to have to talk to him first because, listen, we got to straighten this stuff out. Right, I didn't say it, and I'm sure that's true. I'm sure lots of people got stabbed with pens. I got a pen went through the back of my throat. It was an accident. I was chewing on it. I bumped into somebody. People got stabbed with pens. I'm sure more than one person. But now that I know now, I'm sure that's where you were like.
I bet you stopped chewing on pens after that. Huh?
Yeah. When I'm walking, it went right through the back of my throat. It missed my carotid artery by like that, half an inch. God. I mean, it like I was walking, like it was like this. And then I bumped into somebody fatter and went boom, right back. So now I'm kind of upset. And I'm telling you, well, when he comes on, we're going to have to talk about this first. Now, Adam's a very, very nice guy. And Frank he's an old hitman. He's very cranky. So that's why it never went on. Because in Adam's head, I'm like, he's thinking there's no way this is going to work. This young guy's going to open his mouth and it's going to end up being, now that I know how Frank is, like, I would have been respectful, but I didn't like the fact that he was calling me some YouTuber that was living somebody else's life.
Well, he wasn't talking about you.
But he was.
No, he wasn't talking about you. He was talking about Frank.
No, he wasn't. He didn't say Frank.
He's the one who said it. He's the one who said it. The way it ended up is because my father saw Tony sticking with a pen.
Yeah, but but Frank's not a YouTuber.
Right.
And he knows Frank's name. He knows Frank.
Yeah, I know, but Frank was referring to him, believe me, because I showed Frank the video. I said, look at this.
Yeah.
They're saying that this is how this happened. Anyway, he wasn't particularly upset with you.
Yeah. So that's why Coffee and Cloud never happened, because I put on my community page we're going to talk, but I think Adam was scared, and I understand. Like, because it probably would have.
He's gonna set Frank off. He's gonna make. Yeah. Frank's gonna like boom blow up on him.
Yeah, because people were pumping me up. They're like, dude, you're from where he's from. You maybe never kill anybody, but you don't let him talk to you like that. So I'm like, yeah, damn it, mother, get him on the phone. Let me talk to him. And that's too bad he passed away, because I would have liked the chance to talk to him, because my people know his people. I don't talk about my personal life in here, but like when I went to go pick him up, his brother Joey, I went and told him who I was. He goes, oh, you're da-da-da-da. I'm like, yeah. My people send their regards. They send their condolences. So, guys, you got to watch Coffee with Colotta. You have ask anybody that's seen Casino, anything wants to know anything about the Chicago mob. This guy's heard every single story. If you guys have any questions, thank you. Never happy hippie. Never give me a thumbs down. And if you give me a thumbs down, press it twice. Yeah, go to Coffee with Colotta, Vetek Kimmy. That's his channel. It's a guy telling stories from my neighborhood, and he sounds exactly what a Chicago Italian sounds like. He tells stories just like a Chicago Italian, and
his memory is crazy great memory. He's really interesting, and the channel is definitely binge worthy.
Yeah. He couldn't say subscribe. He would say prescribe. So that was a big thing.
We got prescribers.
Come on, 2 or 3 of you guys. I need you to prescribe today. Come on.
Well, I couldn't script him. This is how that happened. I sat there one day and I'd say, "Okay, Frank, we're gonna open this video. Here's what I want you to say. Hey everybody, welcome back, Coffee with Colotta. Be sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, click the bell notification." He's like, "Oh, stop! It's too much. It's too much." Okay. So then he'd do the intro and say, "Okay, everybody, be sure to hit the prescribe button." And I'm like, so the first time I said it, I stopped the camera. I says, "It's subscribe." Okay, let's try it again. All right. Be sure to go over there and hit the prescribe button. I said it right that time. I'm like, yes, you did. Yes,
no arguing. We just gotta leave it. It's prescribed from now on. It's not even subscribed.
I went home and I thought about it, and I was like,
it worked.
Oh no, I'm like, that's a hook. That's cool. That's his thing. I said, we'll keep it prescribed. Yeah. And so I told him, I said, Frank, now you remember this. Frank did not want to look unintelligent.
Yeah.
Okay. He wanted to look very intelligent, so he thought that maybe it didn't make him, make him sound intelligent. So anyway, so we started, and we got coffee cups that say I prescribed. We get all kinds of, and the people loved it. And Frank was like, "Yeah, this is," and all the prescribers on the channel like that. So that's kind of cool.
I never even heard of the Morello family in the artichoke business. I never heard of that. No, I don't know anything. So we were coming up with ideas. Remember, I told you. I said, because Frank's he's an old hitman. He's set in his ways. And one of the ways they used to torture people in Chicago. Chicago was known for torturing people. If you remember Casino, where they put the head in the vice, that actually happened. That actually happened because of a murder that happened in my town. The guy was face down. They put his head in a vice.
That's the difference from the movie to real life. He wasn't laying on his back with his eyeball popping up. They put his head down in the vice. And when it popped out, the eyeball actually popped out and was hanging, dangling there from the cord. That's what Tony told Frank.
So a vice is something like, it's something in a wood shop that you would hold wood with, and you just crank the side and it goes tighter and tighter and tighter. They put the guy's head in it because they wanted to find out who was the other guy on the murder with them. And they put it so hard that the pressure popped the guy's eyeball out, and it was dangling down there like that.
One night we were, Frank
the segment I wanted you to do practical jokes on Frank, and we were gonna name it Dodging the Ice Pick.
Dodging the Ice Pick.
Dodging the Ice Pick, because you're trying to get him, trying to pull a joke on him without him killing you with an ice pick.
Yeah.
And what happened when you told him about it? What did he say? Because we were coming up with ideas.
I said, Frank, I said, this guy Joe, he had a really good idea. I said, how about this? How about we do a little segments called, where I do pranks to you, and then you get mad, and then, and he said, what kind of pranks? I said, I don't know. I said, like maybe I could take a little bit of salt and put it in your coffee, and when I give you your coffee and you taste it, it's a little Mad Sam coffee. For those of you that don't know, William Romer was a police officer, used to go in and talk with Mad Sam DiStefano in his house. He would go in the kitchen and he would urinate in coffee before he gave it to him. Well, when I told Frank this idea, you go, spit it out, what the hell is that, right? And we'll call it Dodging the Ice Pick. You'll get mad at me, and then he didn't like it.
What are you trying to make me look stupid?
Oh my God!
Wait,
how about I do the pranks on you, huh? How's that sound?
You trying to make me look stupid on the channel?
Oh my God!
You want to do pranks? No, we'll do pranks.
Bad idea.
Like he got mad at him for even suggesting. I said, call it Dodging the Ice Pick. It's just you doing pranks on him. He can't catch you. Just run.
Right.
He nixed that idea. So Adam had trust me, he had a beautiful. And I know that's why me and him never talked, because I had told him one time Listen, we're gonna have to clear up before. I'm not just some YouTubers just making up stories.
We actually took the post down. You removed it off your page. You got mad.
Yeah, I got mad. I did get mad. I was gonna put him on the channel, and then he wasn't coming on the channel, and I didn't really realize that once you watch Coffee with Colotta, you'll see no one's gonna make Frank Cullotta do anything he doesn't want to do.
True. That's very true. Nothing.
So what was this week? What was this weekend like in Chicago for you?
Well, I got on a plane with Frank with his.
What's the best way to travel on a plane?
His urn. I'll tell you what. You show up at the airport with an urn, okay? and you tell them, you say, "Hey, I got this." Well, I'm 6'5". I hate traveling on planes. Number one, because they don't build planes for people my size. Okay. If I could sit in an emergency row exit, I get a little extra leg room, then at least my knees aren't jammed into my forehead, while I'm sitting. So anyway, I walked to check in at an airline. I don't want to say which one, okay? But it's named after our country anyway.
England Airline.
So there you go. So they get me checked in. I said, "Hey, I have an urn. I have this travel permits, burial permits. Do you need to see them?" She's eyes get all big. She said, "Hold on." She comes back with her manager. "Oh, I'm so sorry for your loss. Would you like to pre-board with him?" Pre-board? Sure, right? So I'll call security and let them know that you're coming through security. Okay. So I go through security. They're really nice to me. Okay, good to the gate. I said to the guy, I said, "Hey, it doesn't say pre-board on here, but I have this." And he said, "Oh, I'm not going to stop you." So before they started boarding, he came over and said, "Come with me." They let me on the plane first. I set the urn down in my chair. I went to the back. I said to the flight attendant, "How busy is this flight? How full?" "Oh, it's filled." I said, "Oh."
From Vegas straight to Chicago?
Yeah. I said, "I wanted to set the urn on the seat next." "Oh my," she said, "Oh, I had to go with my mother the same way." Okay. So now the guy comes from the front, wants the planes loaded. "Are you Adam?" I said, "Yes." The lady comes from the back. I know what's going on now, right? Girl comes and she says, "As soon as the plane gets in the air, we're going to move you up to emergency row with extra room." I said, "Oh, my father really wanted to always fly first class."
But isn't that your job to open up?
Yeah, I always wanted to sit in the cockpit.
Don't you have special duties if you sit?
Yeah, you do, and that's like feats the whole purpose, which is why I'm not saying the name.
Yeah. Okay. So wait. So now Mike D asked, "What did Frank think of the Irishman?" Because you did make a whole video about the Irishman. What did Frank think about the Irishman?
Frank didn't like it at all. Frank thought that the whole thing was a lie. He said the guy was bad. He said, but it's not really the truth. He wanted to leave her something.
Yeah. Okay. So what did Frank know? Because I think generally people know about, because somebody else asked about Vittorio Gotti. What was Frank's dealing with New York? Did Frank have any? I mean, Chicago was the spot at then. Chicago had Vegas. Like,
exactly.
You didn't need New York.
Nope. Chicago had its own thing. New York, they had their own thing going on. There wasn't a lot of intermingling with it. Chicago, sometimes it helped Detroit. They'd help St. Louis. They'd help Milwaukee. Kansas City. They'd help New Orleans. Okay?
New Orleans?
Yeah. They'd help New Orleans if they needed help. Of course, they had to get it all okayed, but they were like, big brother.
So who are some people, like, what were big names that are in some of his stories that they would know? Did he have any Frank Sinatra stories? Did he have any?
He talks about Frank Sinatra. He talks about Elvis Presley. Red Fox.
Like
talks about
hanging out with them?
Robbing Red Fox's house.
He robbed Red Fox's house? That's the guy from
Sanford and Son.
Elizabeth, I'm coming, Elizabeth. So he robbed Red Fox's house?
Yeah. He said he got in there.
Cold thief.
The floor safes, he said there were 3 floor safes. They were all open and they were all empty. He said, "I felt so bad for the guy. I left $20 on the counter on my way out."
He robbed the house of the guy that made Dad's root beer.
Yes,
there was supposed to be $200,000 in the safe.
And the safe was empty, right?
And the guy went nuts in the middle of the robbery. He got on the back of the wife, and he's about to shoot her, one of Frank's guys. Yeah. And Frank knows he can't control him at this point. He goes, "Listen, buddy, do us both a favor. This guy's about to kill your old lady. Open up that safe."
Right.
And there ended up being nothing in the safe.
Nothing in the safe, which I don't understand, because why wouldn't he just open it?
Why? Yeah.
Just open it if there's nothing in it.
There was nothing in the safe.
I asked Frank that question once. He's like, "I don't know."
Frank was also,
I don't know.
He was good at, they took him, He was on the west side. A lot of the videos I do was in the neighborhood he went to, and he burned down for the insurance money. He burned down a grocery store.
Yes, he burned it down for the reverend.
For the reverend. It was a reverend. An African-American reverend on the west side of Chicago asked him to burn down his grocery store and he explained how he made the wick. Dude, he had special cars with special suspension with, he's a legit, he was a crime 24/7. Special suspension, a huge motor. They had, right?
Work cars.
Work cars. Those are work cars.
He used a station wagon as a work car, and they took a beam, an iron, like a piece of train rail, okay? And they had the train rail, and they mounted it to the roof of the car. They bolted it to the roof of the car. It stuck 36 inches off the back of the station wagon, and he put a red flag on it. So it looked like, building materials are being transported. And that vehicle was their Ram vehicle. And that's when they were robbing the currency exchanges. That's how they punched the door open in the back of the currency exchange, was with the Ram car.
Yeah.
He had a car for whatever. He was robbing telephone booths, payphones. Now, this is back when there were payphones, number one. Yeah. And the payphones were definitely filled with a lot of money back then. So he was robbing payphones. And he had a second gas tank put on his car. And then in the middle of the console, there was a chute. You pulled the carpeting up, and there was a chute. And so you'd get all the nickels, dimes, and quarters and dump them down the chute, and they'd run into the second gas tank. This way, if you got pulled over, with $4,000 in coins, you got a lot of explaining to do, right?
Yeah.
Where'd you get all these coins, right?
Yeah.
So he's driving around the piggy bank on wheels,
Yeah, and then I remember the one he stayed at the Drake. He stayed at a hotel downtown. And he waited for a phone call, and when he got to the jewelry store, he went to Jewelers Row. There's a Jewelers Row in Chicago where all the jewelers in this one building, and they already were cleaned out or something. It was an insurance scam. Mm-hmm. And Frank and what's his name? Tony Splacher was waiting for him in Vegas. Yeah, or not Vegas, and on Manheim in a hotel. Mm-hmm. And so it was already set up. So think about this. This is already set up. The guy knows you're going to rob him. But this is legit. They rented a hotel room overlooking the Jewelers Row. When Drake Hotel's one of the nicest hotels in Chicago, and they waited for the phone call, and they got there, and it wasn't like half the stuff already gone. There was something weird about it.
Yes, and I don't recall exact details on that story because there was they were supposed to have the jewelry, the diamonds that they were going to steal, and there was nothing in the safe, but they did have the stash of diamonds, and that's what they were after, were those diamonds. Yeah, and I do remember that.
Well, how about when his first big score in Indiana? He got like 200,000, and that's when he
750,000, and it was in Calumet City, where I'm from.
Calumet City.
His first big store was Calumet City.
Calumet City is right on the border. It's in the Chicagoland area, but it's right on the border of Indiana. On the south side, if you go as far south as you can in Chicago, you'll end up in Indiana. So he goes to Calumet City. He does a $750,000 score, and says that's when I learned what paying tribute is.
That's right. That's when he found out what it meant to.
So out of that 750,000, how many people were on that job? 4 or 5?
Yeah, and when they split everything and it was all said and done, they had to kick their 20% up. Frank didn't want to, and there was one guy that didn't. And
Frank did want to.
He didn't want to kick up money.
But he did.
Frank didn't. Yeah, he kicked it up.
But there's one guy that didn't.
There was one guy that didn't. He ended up getting killed. They crawled up a fire escape, and they went into his place and killed him. For not kicking up that 20%.
So how many people, has Frank told you, have you ever had a number how many people Frank's killed?
4. 2 direct and 2 indirect. He killed Bob Brown. He was a jeweler. He had Larry Newman.
Do you believe that number?
Do I believe that number?
Yeah.
I have no reason not to believe that.
Do you think it's more?
No.
Because he's got to stick with what he told the FBI, right? Right. So it's 4. Go ahead. So go.
Well, think about something. If you're given a deal with the government, and you say you're going to get immunity if you tell us. Yeah. Because we're going to give you immunity. Why not just tell them, what you got and get your deal? Because I don't think that he held anything back. I asked Lewis as well. Lewis is another friend of Frank's who was very close to Frank for a very long time, and I asked Lewis that question, and Lewis disagreed with me. But that's another story.
He said there was more.
He thought so, but I don't think so.
What happened in the movie with the real one in Casino? The guy's running through the house, but in the real one, he shot him like 6 times. The guy kept on going, and the Wayne Matecki was not in the car, and he counted the shots and came inside. If he didn't come in, the guy would have got away.
Okay, so Jerry Listener was his name. And Jerry Listener was a con man. He conned people, old people, their life savings. Anyhow, he was going to turn state's evidence in Washington, D.C. against Tony Spilatro. They found out that this Jerry Listener was going to do that through the cook, Joe the Pig Nutella, out at Villa d'Este in Vegas. So as soon as they found that out, Tony said, you got to get rid of him. So Frank and Wayne Matecki went over to Jerry Listener's house, and Frank went in, he knocked on the door, Listener answered, he walked in, he pulled a .22 from his waistband, and he shot Listener twice in the back of the head. And Listener turned around and said, why? And he starts running. Frank looks at his gun and goes, the hell do I got, blanks in this thing? He's like, I know it's pushed up against his head. So he's chasing him through the house, and he unloads the rest of the gun into this guy. The guy goes down by the garage door, but he's still moving. He's not dead. So Frank grabs a water cooler cord and wraps it around his neck and pulls, but the cord breaks. So he wraps it around again. It breaks a second time. At this point, he reaches up to get a knife. And as Frank said to me, because, you can't just stop right then, because the guy will tell on you. So you gotta finish it. So he got the knife, and he's grabbed the knife, and just that point, the garage door started to go up, and Frank thought to himself, oh no, now who do I have to kill? And it was Wayne Matecki, his partner, and he came in with more bullets.
Because he counted the shots.
He said, I counted the shots out. It's straight out of a movie. Can't even write it. He's like, I counted the shots, so I brought you more bullets. So they put a pillow into him, and if it was a magazine, it may have been a revolver. I don't know exactly. But anyhow, he said they reloaded the weapon and they emptied, and then they carried him out in the pool. They put him in the pool, and they got into the pool with him to wash themselves off.
The DNA
and stuff, right.
So if you see Casino, there's that scene where the guy's running through the house, and it's supposed to be in Costa Rica, but it actually happened in Vegas. And in the actual movie, Frank's the hitman in the movie.
Right, so Frank gets hired as a technical consultant on the set. He's standing there watching them film. He's watching Scorsese and helping Scorsese with, well, they'd say it this way, they do it that way. He said to him, he says, this actor's holding the gun like it's a flower. He's like, that's not how he did it. Scorsese said, well, what do you mean? He said, I was there. I killed the guy. He said, you did the murder? Yes. So show us how you would have done it. So Frank got in there and did it. They fired the actor. They rolled the camera and they put Frank into the
I wanted to show you how I would have done it. I'll show you how I did it.
It's the only time that a murderer has played himself in a movie, recreating the murder that they did in real life, doing it on the big screen. Or, as Ori Spado said the other day to me, he said, yeah, so when you think about it, he actually got to kill that guy twice in his life.
He was connected with New York. Let's see, you guys got any? What's up, CPD Transparency? My man, CPD Transparency. And a moderator make you Frank Cullotta, but that's not how you spell it.
Cullotta.
How My Two Beagle has it. That's the actual site. If you go to it, I mean, the stories are unbelievable.
It's binge worthy. Start at the first one and go through. You'll see how
What's up, Johnny?
How we created the videos and how the format slowly changed over time as we
watch the video with Lurch. What was it, Larry Newman?
It's a Larry Newman video.
He's a serial killer, and he's one of Frank's crew members. They're a crew of hitmen and burglars. Right, and this guy was a stone cold psychopath. They were the goon squad in prison that had to deal with the crazy people that would smear feces on the wall. And Frank, we said this earlier on, but I know that the crowd changes. Frank would see a wicker basket at the bottom of the elevator once a week, and he knew there were dead bodies in the wicker basket. He's like, Larry worked last night, and wanted to kill somebody.
Yeah, that was it.
So I'm sure Larry killed probably 40, 50
who knows?
people.
When Frank said it was a weekly thing, okay, you think 4 years in jail, that's 200 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. And no one,
Okay.
and he explains it perfectly. Like none of the guards want to deal with these guys. They were mentally insane, criminally insane, right? And this guy, he's 6 foot something, and he was in there for murder, and he ended up getting out because his dad paid the judge or something. But these stories are fantastic.
Rocket asked this earlier. What's the scariest moment or thing he was involved in? Frank, when I asked him, I mean, there's so many things that he was involved with and did. I don't know scariest, but one of his most embarrassing moments, he was robbing a clothing store. His friend needed some money for a wedding. He was going to get married. So he said, all right, I'll take you on the score. So they break in the clothing store. Across the street, a cop was out getting milk for his infant to go home, and he saw the flashlights in the store. He dropped the dime and they called it in, and they all showed up. Frank, his friend, said, you already have a rap. He says, I don't have one, so you go hide. So Frank crawled into the ceiling in the office above the clothing store, and he's hiding in this drop ceiling. And Frank was a little chunky too when he was a kid, right? So he's up there hanging in the ceiling, and the cops are down there on the floor, and they're asking his friend, where is he? Where's the other guy? Where's he? I'm by myself. And then boom, that ceiling breaks, and he comes crashing through the ceiling. He said that all the tiles, the ceiling tiles, and the dust goes up, and all the cops got their guns pointed at him, laughing their asses off.
Yeah. So he was trying to hide. The other guy was going to take the beef,
right?
And he comes through the ceiling at the least opportune time. There's always that joke where there's two guys, the cop ceiling at the least opportune time. There's always that joke where there's two guys, the cop catches one guy, the other one's hiding. Me and you were doing a robbery. I get caught, and I go to jail alone.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So Frank, I'm trying to think what are you hiding? And I go, okay, Adam, come on, we're caught now, right? Because you don't want to go to jail alone.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So Frank, I'm trying to think he didn't really have scare. He was nerves of steel. He had nerves of steel.
Oh yeah, definitely, big time.
He doesn't really talk about being scared that much. Most of his biggest moments. How much time did he stand up spent? What was his criminal career in Vegas? It was most of it was was in Chicago, right?
Most of it was in Chicago. Yes.
Oh, he got screwed out of property. He bought a property right across from Wrigley Field.
Beef barn. The beef barn.
He owns. The guy screwed him somehow, snaked him out of the property right across from Wrigley Field. That's where the Cubs play. If anybody knows, the property over there is astronomical.
Mm-hmm.
He somehow bought the property, but the guy screwed him out of it. You'd have to watch. I don't want to tell you guys all these stories, but if you guys got any more questions, he's got to get back on a plane soon. Now they become the witness. Skipping. Did he fear anybody? He probably fear. Did you think he feared?
Did he fear anybody? He didn't. He wasn't necessarily. Let's say not afraid of Larry Newman.
Oh yeah, Larry Newman.
Yeah. Larry was a psycho, so yeah, that was one that he. I don't know if he was afraid of not being able to control him, but yeah, that was even Tony was afraid. Yeah, Tony was afraid of Larry Newman.
So like I say, Tony's his aunt. He's the same size as Joe Pesci. Oh, he didn't like Joe Pesci at all. Him and Joe Pesci didn't get along, right?
They did. He straightened him out on the set because here's what happened. He walked up, he was standing in a group, and Pesci brought his wife on the set that day. And when he came over, he introduced people, but he didn't introduce Frank to his wife. So a little while later, Frank pulled him aside, said to Pesci, hey, how come you didn't introduce me? He said, well, what was I going to do? Say, hey, this is Frank the Rat? And Frank stood there, so looked at him. He said, waited, walked away. When they got done shooting, Pesci was walking back to his trailer with his bodyguards. Frank was standing off to the side, said, hey, Joe, come here. Let your guys keep walking. Come here. You don't let your guys keep walking, I'm going to stack them up like a wall over here.
Yeah.
And so Pesci walked over to him, and he said to him, he said, you ever say anything like that again about me, I'll pull your eyeball out of your head.
Yeah. And he said something like, you play who I am.
Yeah.
You pretend who I am. I am the real deal. So, and he lived it. He lived the gangster. I mean, you just hear him talk. You guys, everybody always, I think when, I got a character on my channel called Reagan Peabody, and people hear that voice and they're like, "Oh, is that a Chicago accent?" I don't know if they think that's a Chicago accent, but if you hear Frank talk, that's a Chicago accent.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like you said before, we don't say jerk off. Like that, I never said jerk off in my life. I could probably go into my Sunday school and say jerk off and wouldn't get in trouble. Like that's not a bad word. Jerk off. Who says jerk off? We say jag off. In New York, I guess they say jerk off. But if you guys don't, there's some big dogs in here. Have you ever heard the name Louis Cucchiero? I haven't. Have you ever heard of that name?
No, I haven't.
Is he a Chicago guy?
Louis Cucchiero.
Cucchiero. C-U.
Louis Cucchiero? No.
I never heard that name. Was a misscore in the Irish mob in Chicago back day. Mr. Shore.
I have no idea. Never heard of that either.
Never heard of that either. But let me take you guys out here real quick. I'm gonna show you guys New York. Oh, that's from New York. I'm gonna show you guys the Big Tuna's house. Watch the people that own it just came home. Come on, you want to come on, Adam? So we're in River Forest. This is the next town over is where the soldiers live. This is where the bosses live. This is Tony Accardo's house. Tony Accardo is probably the most powerful mob boss ever. He never spent a day in jail. Died of natural causes. It has a swimming pool. It has how many chimneys does this place have?
1, 2, 3, 4. I count 5.
Like, look at the design and the artwork and just the. This was Momo's boss. This was Sam Giancana's boss. This is the guy. This was the guy who would know who killed Kennedy. He probably was the one who okayed it. Because they always implicate Sam Giancana, but he was Sam Giancana's boss. What did Frank ever say about the Kennedy assassination? Did he ever talk about it?
Yeah, we did a whole video on the Kennedy assassination.
So go watch
that
video.
He doesn't say a whole lot about it.
No,
he talks about Marilyn Monroe, the Kennedys. What's that? Ben Franklin.
Benjamin Franklin.
Yeah.
He talks about Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe was supposedly killed by the mob. Watch that one. Because it was Chicago that supposedly killed Marilyn Monroe, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
It's somebody I know. I want you guys to watch a video. I'm not going to ask him right now. But I'm familiar with somebody very familiar. I can't think of the name now. But yeah, this is.
A lot of people thought Spilotro did it.
So a lot of people thought Tony Spilotro did it.
Yeah, but
that was Frank's best friend. So what are the books Frank wrote?
What other books he wrote? Colotta. He wrote The Hole in the Wall Gang, and then he wrote his third book was Tony Spilotro: The Rise and the Fall of a casino mobster through the eyes of a hitman. And then his last book, which isn't out yet, it's still being edited, and it's a cookbook.
Oh,
it's a cookbook, an Italian cookbook.
And so he passed. Did he pass away from the bird flu?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what's written on the certificate.
But he lived a long life.
It actually says acute respiratory syndrome, something like that, due to the bird flu and due to the pneumonia.
Weren't these gates just open, or there's that one? I feel like they're closing them on us. So I think it's got like 6 or 7 fireplaces. It's got a full pool in there. That's where my boss lived. It looks to me, it looks like, if you see like that drive over there, it reminds me of the house from The Godfather, because they had to come in and out of the estate. All right, guys, I'm gonna. You got anything to say, Adam, before you leave? Go on this side.
Anything to say?
Tell them about what the channel, what you're gonna, when you get back to Vegas, like what's gonna happen with the channel. There's exciting stuff happening with the channel.
We got a lot of content that we just shot here. Of course, we made a lot of videos. Not during, because there was a celebration of life for him. It was a luncheon. We had it at Gibson's Steakhouse in Rosemont.
But you got a lot of content in Chicago.
Yes.
That's what you're doing all the.
Yes, we did.
We did it for 3 or 4 hours today.
I interviewed family members, Frank's family, not outfit family, but no, I interviewed his family, and it was really. Wow, it was really interesting to meet everyone. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
So now it'll be go back to Vegas. create more content, and see where the channel goes. You know, what happens and what we're going to do with it. Maybe we'll just do stuff on organized crime. I've been doing some interviews with different people who were involved in different ways, everything from informants to other wise guys. So
yeah, thank you, Adam. I mean, the channel, there's going to be a lot more content, guys, so go on over and prescribe Disorderly Product News, wishing you and yours a very safe and happy rest of the work week. I'll talk to you later, guys. Good night.